Hey guys. Started a little late, but that's how it goes. We've getting started here. I don't even know where Cheech and Lance are. They've left me. So we're just going to start. Looking forward to getting some questions on spring tactics. Jared, One is the Loneliest Number. It's a great song also. But anyway, while those guys figure their stuff out, and I don't know, maybe they're not coming. Maybe they don't like us anymore. We'll definitely get started. As a lot of you know, Cheech and I just got back from Argentina, and we had a good trip. It was fall fishing, so these tactics that we're explaining today will not work down south. Plus, you have to do it counterclockwise instead of clockwise. Here's my volume. Hey, this is actually a good time to get a check on audio. Check, check. Is that better?
Cold areas.
Better. Audio better. There's people still in the shop, so they're just keeping a little busy. It's no big deal. Cheech will not match my shirt today. I know for a fact this shirt they make, they do not make in his size. Okay, I just checked my audio up a little bit higher, and waiting for the others to join. But anyway, we will do we're actually going to do a whole podcast on the Argentina trip, which was fantastic. Thanks, Wayne. Looks like we need to dial down the other dudes. Okay. Okay, I'm still hearing some background.
3-pack of reels, a 6-weight rod, and 2 wires, correct?
Okay.
You're right, you told me the screen, this is gonna tell you.
Let me switch over here real quick.
They started adding, did you see they moved that decimal point around?
I'm all fancy. I've got my TV monitor here.
I'm gonna do a withdrawal here in a second.
I'm just trying to figure out why we're picking up Lance talking in the background.
Yeah, I found a couple of those studio shrouds for a while.
I apologize.
Yeah,
We'll get there. We still have, I think, 30 some odd episodes before we have to really do this right.
These knots are bad. My name is Lance.
So,
Feel free to come back.
Get there. Yeah, Randy, surprise. We only announced it today. So, yeah, deal with it. We're going live. My 2 Yahoo compañeros here are helping customers. Lesson learned, don't start a podcast at 6:30, at 7 when we close at 6. But it was crazy busy today, and that was good. So, back to Argentina. We got people from Utah here, Pennsylvania, Washington, Idaho. Very good.
August 1 until about September 25th.
We tried it last year.
Yeah, it sounds a little better. So, yeah, we just got back from a trip down south. We are actually going to start doing some trips with people down there. As we've talked to some of the guys out doing destination trips, obviously trout are not native to the southern hemisphere, and you could go down the street here 10 minutes away and catch fish, trout, but I think that's kind of the thing about going down to a different area, fish or fish, but you're in the Andes Mountains, you're fishing some areas that don't get a whole lot of pressure. So it's an experience. Anyway, we had talked about going down and have been talking to some lodges because what we wanted to do is be able to kind of take our experience, because Cheech and I both have been to Argentina before, culturally, language-wise, we're fluent in Spanish, so to kind of put together a trip and have people join up with us. We wanted to find the right fit and make sure that when we went down there, it was going to be a good arrangement. So we've got a trip planned in February. We're still working on the dates, but anyway, if you've seen the videos, those are some of the places we'll be fishing, and it's going to be cool. We'll be basically fishing with you. Do 4 or 5 days, depending on how we do it. Still hard for you to hear me. That is weird. My audio is set the highest.
Hopefully the window coverings will help. That they
You
put
can
up.
hear Cheech from way the freak across the room. I don't even know how that works. Maybe I'm not audio.
Do we need to bring in some fans or something?
Well, and Briggs over there, he's being super loud. Everybody on the internet can hear him. I don't
We
know
were
if he
hoping that the
realizes
window
that.
shades would.
So I'm just going to talk louder and without any pauses. Diet Dew, please.
That do?
Yeah. And anyway, so some questions. How much is it going to cost? We're not sure. Somewhere between $3,500 and $4,500. That won't
Yeah,
include
for
airfare,
sure.
but that's just kind of the
Caffeine
ballpark
free.
of what we're doing. Hey, look at there's Cheech.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure why our audio is picking up everywhere, because these are directional mics.
What's going on? Are people
We're just
saying-
having the normal audio challenges again.
not loud enough?
You know what? It might be that it's picking the audio up from the camera and not.
Do you want us to start talking and you deal with it?
Do you hear me better over here? I think so. Well, I couldn't hardly get the phone work or the camera working in the first place. So, actually, no, we wouldn't be picking up camera audio on headphones. So I need to know if talking louder here is better. I've adjusted all those settings.
These are all over the place.
Yeah, I've jacked mine up high. And the camera mic should not be picking anything up.
Is your computer microphone turned on?
That's off.
I can hear it in your headphones.
Yeah, and like when I get in there real tight, yeah, you
I
can
hear
hear. So that's weird. Yeah, in fact, the audio's coming through the video capture device. Anyway, we'll figure it out eventually. 35 episodes in, and we'll get her figured out.
Whoa.
Whoa, is right.
Can you hear me?
There we
No,
go.
I can't hear you.
I can't hear me either.
There's bunches of yeses that you can hear us. So
I don't
I
think
can hear
mine's
Curtis
turned
in
on.
here, but I can't hear Cheech in my headphones. Can you hear Cheech in your headphones?
okay, talk, Cheech.
Can you hear me now? Nope. No.
There you are.
Yes.
There we
is.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Okay. So what have you talked about, Curtis? Sorry.
Well, I'm
about
done.
You're done?
We're basically done.
All right.
We're just gonna go for sushi now.
Oh, dude, I need some sushi. I came in for like 3 hours here in the shop, because that's like double my normal work day
And half the pay.
and half the pay. And we got slammed there for a second. I was spooling up midge tips, explaining to people how to catch 30-inch fish in Utah Lake.
Those must be carp.
I was telling people my name was Lance Egan so they would believe me.
I don't think those knots qualify as my quality of knot, but
Yeah, so we had some customers in, and I was tying knots. I said, these knots should be good, but if they don't work, you can come back and complain. My name's Lance
you
Egan.
stole that joke from me.
Yeah, no. I've been doing
That's
that
a dad
joke
joke
for years.
original. Yeah.
But what did we say? We were going to talk about springtime fishing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
So, anyway, I was thinking about that because Curtis and I, with our big boy jobs and everything, we didn't get out as much this winter, and so when we were prepping for Argentina, I started realizing there's a whole bunch of stuff that I probably should have done to get ready for this spring trip that I need to do, like check my tippet, look at my fly lines, make sure they're not nicked up, lube up my reels.
Move up the rails.
What are some of your thoughts there, Lance Egan?
I don't know. I don't have any. I just fish all winter, so there's no spring.
Son of a well, let's pretend like you're a normal human.
Well,
Say
I am
you're a
normal human.
Sasquatch.
I'm not a Sasquatch, but I am a normal human.
So how often should one change his tippet?
Well, it depends on your tippet. If you use nylon tippet, then it has the tendency to go bad in a year or so, so you should probably check it. If you have fluorocarbon tippet, both
Yeah,
of which,
I fixed the audio. Sorry.
both of which are monofilament, by the way.
Wait. I thought it was mono versus fluoro.
No,
Did we
we're
go
not-
over that last
yeah,
one?
we've been through that before. But anyway, nylon and fluorocarbon.
Hey guys, I
tippet-
fixed the audio.
Hey, good job.
What
What did you
what
do?
happened?
Well, no, Lance is off now because he's. Okay,
How about now?
talk, Lance.
I can hear myself.
Okay, yeah, he's much better now.
I can't hear Lance very
That's
well.
debatable.
Okay, now Lance
Now.
is on.
Okay, now I'm on.
There we go. Guys, I figured out the audio.
Lance volume low, it says.
Now you're good.
Nailed it, Curtis.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kenneth Van Dyken.
Maybe just a little bit
I think
higher
Kenneth
on
is-
Lance.
Kenneth has been our audio. Well, actually,
We didn't use. Oh, I can hear myself a lot now.
Yeah.
We
that
didn't
sounds
use
so good.
Jay
Very
Townsend's
nice.
advice. We were supposed to change our setup. Maybe next time when we have a little more time.
Yeah.
We kind of were. This one we had customers in the store a lot longer than expected,
So we can now,
which we always welcome.
we can now edit the podcast and start it right here for Stitcher and iTunes and stuff.
yeah.
If
Brandon, mental note: when
Yeah.
you're ripping the audio, start now.
So what we've talked about so far is Curtis was probably talking about Pokemon and computers for 15 minutes. Lance and
What
I
about
were
Pogs? Does he tell anybody about Pogs?
What?
I think he's a little. We should be too old for that, Lance.
Oh, well, some of us have younger siblings, Cheech.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to talk about spring fishing. Obviously, when I think spring fishing, I'm thinking, okay, you got to be careful because rainbows and cutthroats are typically spawning, right? Whoa, and also some of the hatches that happen in spring. Lance, favorite spring hatch?
Blueing olive.
Blueing olive. What's the difference between that and a Baetis?
Well, the Baetis has 14 legs and 14 tails. No. Well, to my limited
declare.
to my limited knowledge, those are the same.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with a Calabaetis, which is not what we're talking about. But blueing olive, the blueing olive hatch or Baetis hatch, same.
So it's a mayfly,
Yes.
and then they look like little sailboats coming
Really?
down the river, right?
Is that what mayflies look like?
That's what I always thought they looked
Yeah,
like.
they do. They do.
Perfect. And what's the difference? Let's talk about maybe the difference between a Baetis or blueing olive, aka mayfly, versus midges.
Is there a difference?
I think so. I'm testing your knowledge, Euro boy.
All I know how to do is nymph fish, Cheech.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it.
At least that's what I'm told. Well, the difference between a midge and a blueing olive, well, they're different species. Midges are Diptera. Midges don't have tails. Midges have a down wing. What else? Mayflies have an upright wing that looks kind of like a sailboat. Has somebody mentioned that before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you look at natural Baetis, you'll realize, or bluing olives, we're going to use those terms fairly interchangeably, I think. You'll notice that the wings are actually quite long compared to how long the body is.
Mm-hmm.
Most commercially tied flies, you'll see that the wings are quite a bit shorter than what a real natural Baetis wing is.
Curtis could probably tell us some more,
Nerdly
entomology.
bug
I
knowledge.
wasn't going to go nerd. I said entomology, which is also word for nerd if I could speak.
The word for nerd.
The word for nerd. Curtis Fry. Anyway,
I
go
think
ahead.
all you need to know is whether the wings are up or down.
Up or down, tail, no tail.
Yep, tail, no tail, wings up or down.
Midges have a tendency to be dark, not always, but
Yeah.
And smaller,
smaller.
by and
Well,
large.
the other thing to consider is in the springtime, the midges tend to get a little bit bigger. You're here in Utah, we use the term buffalo midge, right?
I've heard that before.
Yeah, or bison midge.
Bison midge.
Not really.
That's a new Cheech pattern apparently.
Right, but they're a little bit bigger. A lot of times we'll hear guys come in the shop and in February saying, "Oh yeah, the blue-winged olives were killing today.
Yeah.
We was up there, we seen them all over.
Yeah.
Fish was eating them."
Can't believe it. Darndest thing, I saw the darkest blue wing olives I ever saw. They were all black. Well, those are midges.
Yeah, and they don't call them blue-winged olives; they call them BWO. So,
Anyway,
Or if you're real old school, they're blue duns.
Blue
Whole
Blue
hatch of
duns.
blue duns.
oh yeah,
well, across the pond they just call them olives.
olives.
Well,
Nice.
Karsten, I think, counts as across the pond. And
He's definitely one of them.
No, he's
way across the pond.
He's like
Other
the southern
direction.
side of the pond. We don't fish for
Shouldn't you-
kangaroos, bro.
shouldn't you be in bed?
Burn. A few other things. Betas, I mean, for me, I used to get so amped up to fish betas that I would forget that they kind of don't hatch as early in the year as I'd like them to. So, you're going out in March expecting for the betas to be hatching, and you're probably going to run into a pretty decent midge hatch, but the betas maybe haven't gotten going yet. So, mid-April, early to mid-April is when you start seeing them a whole bunch. But you want to make sure that you have plenty of midges in your box as well.
Well, my favorite time in the spring is when there's the overlap between a pretty good midge hatch that's been going on for a while. The fish are getting a little more animated when it comes to feeding, and the beta start coming off. So you'll catch those times where they can take either or. Although I'll still just fish the foam merger because that's the only fly you really need in the spring.
Foam merger or the fripple. Which is the dumber fly? Comment now.
They're so dumb.
People are asking us what our favorite BWO is.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends for me. Obviously, if you're nymphing versus dry
Well-
flies, emergers. But if we're talking an actual, so there's a Euro nymph question. Even though it's autumn down there, we fished a lot of mayflies in Argentina, and so we'll just say that kind of same thing applies. But lots of patterns. But the thread Frenchie that Lance did well for us. So I like, especially if I'm fishing them off droppers, I like ones that will sink quickly. And if I'm fishing faster water too. But yeah, something like a thread Frenchie or a little Perdigon that's going to be able to sink quick and
Yeah.
looks kind of like a mayfly, and actually a lot like a mayfly.
And one of the things about blue-winged olives as well is you can fish anything from like a dark brown to a charcoal. They get kind of dark right
Yeah.
before they hatch. So if you take a fish pump out and you're catching fish on beta nymphs or dries, it's still worth it to to pump a fish to find out if you can dial it in a little bit more. Lance, I hear you talk about gray olive dubbing quite a bit here.
Yeah.
Is that because that's your ultimate Betis color for
Yeah,
Utah?
for our local betas, I think they are more gray olive than olive. So I feel like most of the dubbings that are out there that are labeled blue wing olive, although they will catch fish, I don't think they're an exact match for our fish. So I like in superfine dubbing, I like their gray olive better, or in the Nature Spirit beaver dubbing, the gray olive for my betas patterns. That's what I would prefer to use.
Cool. Somebody's asking what's the difference between a green drake and a blue-winged olive. So the green drake's going to hatch in the summertime, in July or in June sometime usually.
Yeah, June, July.
It's also a clinger mayfly nymph. So if you catch them out of the water, they look like demons from a movie.
That have been working out.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're pretty stocky.
they're
Have some
really
horns.
cool. Yeah, so they have big gnarly legs. They can grab onto rocks, and they crawl around. Versus a little Baetis, which is much smaller, and they're swimmers. So they're more streamlined. If you see them in the water, they wiggle quite a bit.
When they're adults, they're quite different. You said they're different sizes, but
Right.
the drakes would be like 10s and 12s most of the time, and the blue wings would be 18s and smaller with the occasional 16.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and then within the different species of drakes or blue-winged olives, they're all over the board. So it's key. Like, we're talking from our experience mostly here in Utah, but go to your own local water and do some screening. Get a seine, kick some rocks, and find out exactly what they look like in your local waters. And that's going to help you catch a lot of fish. Have we beaten the Baetis theme into the ground yet?
Yeah, we're going on 20 minutes, so probably.
Streamers. You can only fish streamers in autumn, right? In Australia. Right?
You can fish them in autumn. It just happens to be spring here too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we
that-
actually had a guy asking about that today, so that's a good question. In the spring, your fish are coming out of their winter kind of slower holding areas. They're not expending as much energy. They become a little bit more active eating. A little bit more inclined to probably chase something down like a streamer. So at least that's when I feel I'll catch more on your traditional kind of streamer approach. Although if you go to our channel, watch the one where we fish the little Euro jig nymph streamers, it's a it's not your typical strip kind of thing, but you'll find fish chasing down streamers more nowadays. So I guess it depends on what you want to do, but it's a good time to start experimenting them.
Yeah. Yeah, they like streamers in the spring. As the water warms, the fish will get a little more aggressive. Lately around here, the water has been getting, the Provo at least, I've been finding water temperatures. I've seen it up to 53 already.
Wow.
Only on a couple days like, today where it's very warm outside. But most of the time it's in the low to mid 40s by the afternoons, which is still pretty cold. So the fish aren't really, they're not willing to chase really fast strip streamers most of the time. You had to hang streamers in their face. I've been catching a bunch of fish on streamers lately, and it's been either jigging on the Euro rig or slow presentations with strip streamers.
Yeah.
And that's a good point too. I mean, when it's a little bit cooler, you're going to want to find that flatter water, as Lance showed us in his video. Fish a little bit smaller streamer. It's not every day that you're going to be able to throw great big old articulated patterns, but at the same time you should change it up. We were fishing a little tiny stream. If you check out our YouTube channel, we just posted a picture of it, some really cool underwater footage, but we were throwing little Euro streamers. It's the Cheech's Euro streamer, as I said in the video.
Did you see that part, Lance?
I watched it just last night while I was watching the Jazz get crushed by the Rockets, which is terrible because nobody likes Harden. But
I made it 10 minutes into that game.
Yeah, that's why my wife came in and said, "You have the TV on and YouTube at the same time." Perfect.
But anyway, we were throwing little tiny streamers in that stream and catching quite a few, but then they were stopping they weren't responding to the little one as well. And so I tied on a pretty beefy trout slider that was articulated, and like second cast, I nailed a fish in it. After which I hung it up in a tree, and our guides dug it out of the tree and kept it. They wouldn't give it back to me.
Somebody on here, I don't remember who it was, but somebody a couple minutes ago asked if I was surprised to see that the brookies ate the jig streamer, and no, not surprised at all. Brookies love jig streamers.
Yeah.
They do.
It was amazing because a lot of that was sight fishing. It's hard to see in the video. One thing you didn't see was in the footage where we had, I basically went on my belly and stuck a GoPro down in the water, and there was one where it was just right out of frame where Cheech was just jigging a little streamer in front of the fish. If I had been a little, like 1 inch to the left, I would have got it on video. But that's kind of how most of those fish were, is that you just had to really just jig it right in their face, and then they would just grab
You'd
it.
watch them eat it. It was a cream-colored bruiser bugger.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the big junk, but like maybe 10 or 12 times better.
Kind of like it, except not as effective.
But anyway, it was a lighter colored fly, so you could actually watch the fish just kind of move to the side and mouth the fly. It was unreal. It was super, super cool. So streamers in the springtime, and it doesn't matter how big your water is either, right? So fish streamers in
Nope.
tiny stuff, in big water, that kind of stuff. What else for spring?
Ice off on lakes.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ice off on
So
lakes is
I'm-
good.
Yeah, let's talk about ice off. I think ice off is one of the most overrated times to fish. Because
Overrated?
everybody builds it up in their minds that ice off's is some magical time. And I'm not saying the fishing's going to be bad or good. In fact, it can be really good sometimes. But I think everybody's working to time it so that they're right like the day the ice comes off, and then all the fish are just waiting because they haven't eaten all winter, and now
Yes,
the
they
ice
have.
is gone, and oh, magically they're going to eat. So anyway, I have caught fish where I've thrown it onto ice, stripped bugger or whatever off, and caught fish. You know, so
Sure.
Well, for 5 years, that was all we lived for.
Yeah,
Right?
it's just-
And it was days before the interwebs when we were basically
Yeah.
cavemen and just kind of waiting for that report that
So the only thing that's changed is the interwebs are here now.
it's true.
well, we have to make sure we know where to go and what to use on the exact day.
Oh,
You know, in Argentina, they called me Pie Grande the whole time there. Bigfoot.
Bigfoot?
Yeah. There's no word for Sasquatch.
And they would
Yeah.
laugh. Like here, you'd call somebody that, and then you're like, "Oh, I didn't offend him." Now there's like, "Hey, man, you're fat."
yeah. No,
Well, sitting next to you, I look very small. I can see that on there. And I had a client that I guided a few weeks ago that has made many comments on here and sent me messages personally that he's like, "Why don't you sit up in your chair?" And then I got to guide him. We won't mention any names, Ed Constantini.
freaking Ed.
And Ed is like, he's a really nice guy, but Ed, you're like 5'6". So I've got you by like a half a foot. So you can't make fun of me for being short, okay, Ed?
Just in case you haven't learned, if you come in here and Lance realizes that he's taller than you, you'll never hear the end of it. All three of you that have come in.
both of them, yeah, both of them. Curtis being the other one.
No, but really for ice off, if you're intent on fishing that, some of my best ice off patterns are egg sucking leech patterns that aren't super heavy, you know. So just build up like an orange thread head on a semi-seal leech or something, and that will kind of hang it on the edges. And that's I'm talking like when there's 25 feet of open water, you're casting onto the ice. I've done really well on patterns like that. Because you know the rainbows are getting all frisky right now, and there's a lot of eggs in the water. They're eating those. So anyway, I got no shame with that.
Ice off, yeah. I mean, I'm with Curtis. Ice off, I think is it's a little overplayed, but it's something to look forward to. The ice is finally coming off
And you
the
can
lake.
hit the water.
You
Yeah.
can't hit the water. The hard deck is gone. I think there's a window in there where if you're catching it when there's literally 20 to maybe 40 feet, 50 feet of open water on the edges, it can be pretty amazing. It can also, if you're getting it too late when the ice just came off, it's usually not as good for a couple weeks till the water warms a little bit.
Yep, and then you have when the water turns over, that can also dictate some of how your fishing is going to be. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on around ice off that makes it somewhat unpredictable.
In our neck of the woods, I think that most of the time, if you've heard the ice is coming off, you missed it.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of have to be one of the people that just drives up there thinking it's got to be happening pretty soon, and you might be too early a couple times. But if you wait, to hear the ice is off Strawberry, it's usually windy in the spring here, and it gets warm fast, and
Yeah.
it will go off in one day. Basically, sometimes the lake can come off. It can also take a week and a half to come off, but
Yeah.
more commonly it's a day or two and it's over.
So Curtis and I have a story. And I'll share it here because it's a safety related story. Ice off can be kind of a sketchy time, but we were wading out, doing your typical cast out onto the ice, and it's not a huge reservoir, but the wind started picking up. And the wind was pushing away from us, so we were casting, and the wind was taking our cast. It was great. And then the wind shifted back around
You're on the bank or in a boat?
on the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're wading about up to our waists, and we had gotten out of the water to just kind of eat lunch, and we're sitting there waiting, and the wind shifted, and now the wind's in our face. And we didn't realize until the ice was really close, but the ice came crashing into
Fast.
the shore, and we're talking 12 inches of ice. So basically, all of the ice on the lake was moving so fast, it all ended up in big, huge mounds of ice.
12 inches thick, not
Yeah.
not 12 inches wide.
12 inches thick.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
So, because somebody's gonna be out there listening, going, "Ooh, Cheech is scared of
No,
12
no.
inches of ice coming at him."
No, you had like 6 or 8 foot
This
mountains
isn't somebody
of
that
ice.
dumped their McDonald's ice in their lake
No.
and it drifted towards
Yeah,
you.
if we would have been standing there and tried to tough it out, it would have.
It'd kill you.
We would have been killed,
Broken legs.
broken legs, and-
Severed.
Yeah, it would have been bad. And it happened. In my mind, I always remember that it was like fast.
Yeah, it was like a matter of.
You just like
15
turn around.
seconds.
Holy crap! Where did all the ice come from? Boom! It was right there. But that was one also where we had hit it within 24 hours of the ice really receding enough, and the fish was just insane.
Yeah,
So you
So-
gotta sometimes be brave.
and if you're out in a kick boat and then the ice starts shifting around like that too, then you could find yourself stranded as
Giddy
well.
up, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get off of there. I think it's important. One thing I see a lot is in the spring, the ice is when the ice comes off, the water is very cold. And if the last time that you fished, lake whatever that you like to fish was in October or September, the fall before, and the water was in the 50s or something, the same retrieve speeds and the same water, parts of the lake where you maybe found fish in the fall may not be the same in the spring. So we have a lot of people that come in the spring and say, I tried all the same stuff that worked last fall and it didn't work. And you go, well,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
tried, black, try stripping flies really slow, try fishing static, fishing stuff below an indicator or anyway, just I think it's important to note that it's not the same year round. So, you got to adapt with each season, and ice off is a very cold time for the fish. So they like slow presentations and generally speaking, dark flies.
That's funny. I was talking to a guy. Where was it? I think it was. No, it was here in the shop. A guy came in and he was telling me a story about how he went to a fly shop in Montana, and they sold him a bunch of flies, and they didn't get to use them until like the next season. And he's like, we didn't catch a single fish on any of those flies they sold us. He's like, I really think they were just taking us. They were just trying to sell us anything that they could sell. And it's like, yeah, well. If you're trying to fish a pink hopper in January,
You might have a problem.
Maybe not a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. So, yeah, you kind of have to redial everything in the springtime, and it even changes from year to year, right? What you used last spring might not work
True.
this spring. So,
How about that question? How was Argentina? Let me answer that. Look at their YouTube stuff. But the second question is a good one. Why didn't Lance go?
well, there's a certain smell element. Number one,
Is there?
no,
Because
He
that
can't
would
deal
disqualify you.
he can't deal with our smell.
Okay.
No, so Argentina was super amazing. It was great to get down there. There were lots of people who couldn't figure out how Curtis and I spoke Argentinian Spanish. That's a different story, but fishing was phenomenal. We had days where we caught quantity of fish. We had days where we chased quality fish. We had Spring Creek days where Curtis got it handed to him for 30 minutes in a row, and then finally got the fish to eat on a
Foam merger, baby.
home merger. So that was pretty awesome. And we got to see, all the way from, northern Patagonia all the way down to Bariloche. But the idea there was we wanted to go down and kind of meet the outfitters, and we'll be doing some trips to Argentina. I think Curtis talked about this
Yeah, just the very beginning.
before the
a little bit, but-
podcast really officially started. But
Did you address that second question?
Why? Well, Lance is gonna go.
I'm teasing. I didn't go because somebody had to work the shop.
Yeah, so that's probably our major holdup. But the people at the lodge did ask that you come on a future trip.
Well, that'd be
and
fun.
That will be the plan.
I had somebody, I can't remember if it was in here or at the expo, but somebody said, why didn't your partners take you to Argentina? And I said, well, there's one problem with that. I'm not their partner.
well,
I work for those guys. That's how this works.
No, yeah. So yeah,
No, but all joking aside, I didn't go because I take off lots of time already, and because I wasn't invited.
and
but-
if you look at your passport compared to ours,
Yeah,
yours is getting worn out.
which one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The United States
Just
of,
teasing.
Yeah, exactly.
of Dangus.
But our goal is to go. Especially these are going to be trips where, we're just having people that know who we are. We speak the language. We're going to go and be kind of your little tour guide / take care of everything, so you don't have to worry about whatever. And
Hopefully, do some hosted trips in the future.
yeah, so February is looking like the one we'll do. We're gonna try to get down there for a Dorado trip in October, and kind of see how we want to go with that. The Dorado trip would be really cool, and
Yeah, you need to go onto Instagram to Andy's Drifters Instagram page and look at some of the Dorado pictures,
it's nuts.
and it will burn a hole in your wallet.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
They're big. They're just mean and nasty. But it was fun. We'll definitely get down there again, and who knows? Maybe even Lance will go.
Maybe we'll see. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
What
so-
else do we have? We got off of our. I threw that one in there because I like that question. But we got off of our springtime tactics.
Somebody's asking about fishing stimulators in the springtime, or when's a good time to fish stimulators. In my opinion, the stimulator's kind of an attractor pattern that you would fish during a time of year when there are lots of big bugs on the water. So if you tied like a dark colored stimulator and you had waters where there were squala stoneflies, that might be the first one that comes off. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, you're probably better off fishing stimulators later in the summer when you have hoppers around, or
Caddis, and stoneflies.
yeah.
Stones.
Yeah.
the bigger stuff. So stimmies are cool flies, but
Here's something though. In the spring, what you do is you take a stimmy, you lay down instead of whatever you would use for the body, you could use some orange tinsel. And then wrap the body with, say, a grizzly hackle, and then instead of a wing, you just tie it off.
Curtis is describing a fly called the orange asher. Highly recommended that you look it up.
It stimulates the fish.
I thought you were going to say something like tie a fly with an orange floss body and like 14 hackle feathers at the head, so it impedes all fish hooking capability.
Well, you got to do something with all your hackle. You may as well just over hackle your stimmies.
And if you do a size 4 stimmy, you got to put size 18 hackle on it. Oh, geez.
How about balance jigs under indicators at ISOF? Is that your primary presentation? No, it's not our primary presentation, but it's one that would work.
It's a good one.
We tend to probably fish more sinking lines or midge tips. Midge tip with balanced leech, or a midge tip with chronomids, or just standard leeches as well, really slow sinking. And then if there's a little more open water, maybe some denser sinking lines, though you could certainly hang stuff below a strike indicator with a floating line too. That would work well also.
Yeah. The thing, speaking of ISOF, when chironomids get on the move, that's one of the times where they'll start to move as the water gets a little bit more sun. And so the larvae will start to move around, and sometimes they'll migrate from one location to another as that water starts to warm. So the fish are going to feed and kind of gorge on the bloodworms, so the larvae. And so in that case, if you know kind of where the bottom is, you can use an indicator with bloodworm droppers, or off of your indicator, or your floating line, however you want to do it, depending on the depth of the water, midge tips, sinking lines. But that can be really effective too, is going for the old bloodworm approach. For me, I love chironomids in general, so that's kind of my focus.
He tried to marry one once. I only said that because his wife doesn't watch the podcast.
Oh, I'm making sure she watches this.
In fact, you know what? My wife said that if I gave her a shout out, she'd give me $1 US. Hi, Maria. This is your shout out. Now you owe me $1,
Holla.
a whole dollar.
which she'll take out of my wallet and then present to me. Anyway,
All right.
somebody's saying your favorite spring technique or go-to technique: streamers, nymphs, or dries.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, all of it.
Well, that's
I mean,
one thing that's nice about the spring is you kind of can get back into the mode of just fishing it all. You got dry flies, you can start to throw streamers a little bit more. But on a day like today, you go out there on the water. In the morning, you may find midges do a little better at first, but you may start. They'll definitely start to move on to the beta nymphs and emergers, and then when they start to pop on the adults, you can switch over to just dry flies and then kind of back down the thing.
You know, that's a good point. Today it's 70 degrees. I
Yeah.
had the windows down blasting white snake out of my truck today.
Attaboy.
I wasn't blasting white snake, but I knew
I was
that-
going to say I had a Whitesnake song in my head just this afternoon.
Oh my gosh.
Which one?
Here I go.
Here I go again. Nice.
Sorry I said that, guys. Okay,
Because he knows how Lance and I like good music.
Yeah.
Big B, can you take that part out?
No.
But anyway, it was a nice day out. Back to the Betis or BWO or Blue Wing Dolly.
Not all of us drive Fords and listen to Luke Bryan, okay?
That's true.
Okay, go on.
That's true. Anyway, no. So,
HR.
Blue Winged Olives are out there more when it's a crappy day. That's all I was trying to say. We talked about Luke Bryan Fords and Whitesnake
And Blue Wing Olives,
and
which have nothing to do with each other.
Betis. So, if it's rainy or cloudy outside, you will find Betis.
Yeah, I think you'll find them either way. I think that you see longer hatch times when it's overcast and humid. It
Yes.
takes longer for the mayflies to dry their wings. So I don't believe that there's really more, and you didn't say this, but this is a common misconception. I don't think there are more or less of them hatching. It's just that when it's 70 degrees and sunny, the UV and warmth and drier air, they hatch and spend less time on the water, so they're less vulnerable to the fish versus overcast days where they drift for a long ways. And
Yeah.
there's lots more of them on the water, so the hatch seems better. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's true.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. But the fish sure key in a lot on those.
They love them on overcast
Yeah.
days. You're exactly right.
What else are they saying? Big Randy's saying, Cheech, were those Orvis waders custom, or are you just getting that svelte? I'm not getting svelte, meaning slimmed down. It just so happens that the Orvis Ultralight 2XLs fit me very nicely. And I was pretty
They
pleased
worked
with
pretty
them.
good.
Yeah.
Are those new latex waders?
No, those were the black ones.
Oh, God.
The tear off ones.
You'll have to go look on YouTube to find out.
Well,
Yeah.
we can't load that one to YouTube.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
we-
already on there.
We have that on a few other sites. Let's see. What else? Craig, bless your soul. Go Team Ford. Yep.
Yep.
What else on springtime? Maybe just a good time to check over your gear, look at your waders, make sure that they don't have any leaks or holes. Check the felt or soles on your boots. Screw in the studs. Check your tippet.
Check the hubs on your drift boat trailer.
Yeah, check the hub. Yeah, grease your hubs on your bass boat too.
Lube them up on the boat as well. That's right.
Yeah,
Put some air in the flycraft.
charge your batteries.
Batteries.
Tie up some purple betas.
Purple.
All that kind of stuff.
What else?
Do you guys have any other questions about this? I'll try to find. Someone says Mother's Day caddis.
What are your preferred pre-hatch through hatch setups for Mother's Day caddis? Pre-hatch, I'm not too worried about them. When they're hatching, the pupa tend to be dark, or at least around here. Mother's
Yeah.
Day are like dark olive to almost black.
Yeah.
Otherwise, olive corn-fed caddis or a peacock corn-fed caddis for my liking.
I saw some of those
On the
tied at the
surface?
Wasatch Expo.
Yeah, several actually.
They were all right.
They're all right.
Yeah, the 30 minutes that you spent tying at the table.
I got at least let's see.
I average 4 flies a show.
I think I did 15 flies at that show. That's not including the some that I did at the presentation theater that they take for the show. So I actually did more like 20.
I see.
So take that.
No,
Just because you did like 20 GT poppers doesn't mean that I
Yeah.
did trout flies. Doesn't mean that you're better than I am.
and the GT poppers I kind of got my arm twisted into doing it. It was a lot of fun, but he wanted red and white, so we posted a picture. Check our Instagram. I painted some of them like Pokeballs, Pokemon balls.
I don't even know what that is. I saw the poppers and I had no idea that was a thing.
Your kids aren't old enough
No.
yet. you young blood.
Young blood.
Here's a good one, Curtis. Maybe you can help us out. How did y'all? Oh, wait, let me read this in a southern accent because he said y'all.
You don't have to. Just read it as it's written.
How did y'all acquire your etymology knowledge? Any books or other resources you suggest it's not too overboard?
Well, you can't use entomology and overboard in the same sentence because there is no such thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me read it. How did y'all acquire your nerdiness?
Bug nerdage.
Any books or other nerdy resources you suggest to not get too nerdy?
Yeah, so the Caddis book by LaFontaine,
Yeah.
excellent.
Nerdy.
It's very nerdy. And when I say nerdy, I mean
Nerdy in a good way.
like in a really good way. But at the end of the day, there are so many caddis species. You're going to look at that book and like it's a really thick book. But it's good to know kind of general thing. I can't even go to the stream and know exactly what species of caddis we're dealing with. You got to kind of understand some of the different major types, and this applies to any bug. But another one that I like is Hatches 2. I think it was, maybe there's 1 and 2. I can't remember. That's a good book. It covers a lot. My favorite one, just because it applies to us, is Western Mayfly Hatches. And that one's probably been the most helpful to me because it's, areas where I thought they were having a certain type of hatch. I've learned a little bit more about what the bugs really are. I mean, when all said and done, it is good to know what the bugs are, but if you pick stuff up and roll some rocks and seine some water and pump a few throats, probably going to serve you better than knowing the scientific name. But like anything, it's a hobby, and we kind of nerd out on those kinds of things. So
We do. We tend to overanalyze and push our logic onto the fish, right?
yeah. But
The red dart hatch was on, so I fished.
well, the red dart hatch is always on.
Yep. I had a guy one time in the shop came in and told me he pumped the stomach and it was full of pheasant tails. That was my kind of guy right there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you
That's
just had a
kinda-
guy that was fishing bad tip and he kept breaking off.
On that note, somebody asked earlier, I saw in here, it wasn't really timely for what we were talking about then, but now it is. He asked, do you prefer seining or stomach pumps?
Yes.
I'll probably do stomach pump or throat pumps. It's technically not going in their stomach.
Sure.
Before a seine, because that way I'm more assured of what they're eating. And of course, everybody's like, well, if you catch them, why do you need to do that?
Yep.
Well,
You already caught one. You
yeah,
have
the
something
thing
to
is,
eat.
like, and I've had this happen a few times where I'm fishing and it may be slow and I get a fish and I'm just curious. I mean, maybe I tricked him into eating something that it wasn't
red
on his-
dart.
Yeah, red dart. It's like, all right, what the heck? But I've had it happen where I've pumped a throat and got some more intel than I would have had I not.
Full of chimeras.
Yeah, chimeras and
Jeez.
foam mergers, of course.
Chimera's corn and power bait.
Yeah, but
Shoot.
so yeah, I mean, you can learn a lot from a throat pump. I usually take sample bottles with me when I go, and then I'll have a macro lens if I take the time and want to take a picture. But usually I try to take samples of bugs whenever I go. So whether it's a throat sample or a seine, depends on the situation. Obviously if I'm not catching fish, you can't do a throat, but you can roll rocks
That
and
never happens to you, Chris.
do whatever.
Doesn't.
But
I've never seen you get skunked.
Let me tell you
We
some
need to fish more.
stories.
But and then I take pictures, and this is nerd level, next level. But so then I'll go and a lot of them I'll actually take a picture against a ruler with a date and a location.
This is next level.
Yeah, and so if somebody says, "Oh, hey, we were fishing such and such place. Do you remember, what size were those chironomids or colors?" And then I catalog them all, so I know, and it's all pictures. I'm not making a nerdy book or
You got to get out
anything.
more.
Yeah. But now I can go back, and if you ask me where that caddis hatch was on the Boulder Mountains, what size they were, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of cool to.
silver striped sedge.
Yeah, well, that was the one that kind of blew my mind. We were fishing a lake, and there were these big old caddis that were just floundering in the water, fishing everything on subsurface. And I finally tied on a butthead pattern. It's a kind of a stimulator looking thing, and boom, like 3 fish and 5 casts on that. And Curtis got super nerdy with it and identified the species, and we looked at what it looked like when it hatched, and
nailed it.
Yep, it was pretty awesome.
But actually, that was a really fun one because we knew they were taking the adults. There wasn't a ton of them on the water, but then they were also taking the emergers, and I got some really good pictures of it, so I could tell what it was, and went through. I want to say it was the LaFontaine Caddis book that helped me identify it. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, anything of that same size color probably would have worked fine. But it is cool to like specifically identify it and know how big the nymphs are and how they live too. You know, are they on rocks? Are they on weeds? Do they live in the detritus in the bottom? You know what? And so there's a lot of stuff you can tell by identifying a given species. So
he got his
extra
full
fun.
nerd on with that one.
Yep, and I still have pictures of them.
Yeah, and you shared them with me, and I don't know where they are now. What's another one? Somebody has a good question about. He said you mentioned purple Baetis, and I noticed you use the purple haze in Argentina.
Oh yeah.
What is your take on using purple-colored flies or nymphs, dries or nymphs? Why does purple work in your opinion? On that whole, I think purple worked because that's the size of fly that I had tied. They were eating like a size 16 with a very sparse hackle. I really think that if I would have tied a different type of fly, it would have. What's that?
That's next level nerd. He not only has it cataloged, he can find it in like 8 seconds.
My gosh.
If I went through my pictures on here, I'd be here for 20 minutes to try and find something, and that would not work.
So that tells me it was a tan body, as shown.
Oh my
Mottled
gosh.
wing, olive body, more solid wing, July 13th. 13 millimeters long, Green River in Utah.
What does that picture tell you about why the purple haze worked in Argentina?
Oh,
though?
sorry.
That's
I
what we're
got
talking-
behind.
Oh my gosh. No, but that's kind of a cool thing to do if you want to get nerdy with bugs like Curtis. But what are your thoughts on purple? I think I could have caught it on olive or rust or.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably on the Chimeween. I think the one I started doing the best on at first was purple. But yeah, I probably could have used anything darker I think was kind of a key piece there. I'm trying to remember if I've had any times where purple, I mean, I've had a couple times where red hoppers were really good, but I don't know. I think any darker color may fly. Depends on the lighting that's out. Depends on what the naturals are. So purple's going to work, but blue could too. You never know.
Speaking of mayflies like that, though, probably the best mayfly pattern was this. It was like a mix between a Visidun and a mil-spec mayfly. It was super money, like kind of a sparse body, sparse hackle, but a more pronounced wing. That was really good. And I did have some of those in purple. We didn't really answer the purple question, but I think purple works because people want it to work and maybe fish it harder, maybe focus on their presentation more.
I don't know why purple works. It does, though. It works.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know that it works any better than gray or black or olive or something else, but it does work. I think that comes back to that we project our logic on the fish too much. Why does a royal wolf work? Who knows? Doesn't look like anything, but it does. Who cares? The fish eat it.
Yeah.
Purple works too.
Lance hates royal wolves and copper johns.
No, I don't hate either one of them. I just don't fish them. They work to catch fish.
No, that's funny. I always gotta jab Lance whenever I can.
Did that work?
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good one? Okay.
Yeah. Let's see what else. How much more time do we?
Yeah, we'll go to on the hour. I mean, I think we got 5-minute late start, but not too much.
Cool. Randy says, when does the dropper hatch come off? That should be a quote that you hear in a fly shop.
The dropper hatch?
The dropper
It's always
hatch.
going.
I've never experienced it.
Yeah, neither have I. What else can we talk about on hatch matching, spring fishing, other applicable topics to today's day and age? I had a kind of an eye-opening thing in Argentina where we were throwing. We're kind of prepared for everything, and the fish were eating small mayflies. And so Lance had talked about the new scientific angler. Not new, the trout taper scientific angler has been around for a long, long time, right? And I've been fishing the GPX or the Infinity taper, and Lance was talking about how aerial mends and roll casting and stuff was really good with the trout taper. So I spooled one up, and it was an absolute game changer with, throwing pile casts or curve casts when you're fishing out of a drift boat and you got a bunch of back eddies and currents. I think I caught my biggest fish on the Chimeween on a dry fly because of a pile cast, and that line was super cool.
Yep.
It's a good
I
line.
did fish it too when we were trading off.
Very cool taper, long belly, weight forward, roll casts, and aerial mends very well.
Yeah. Here's one. Maybe we can think up something. Common misconceptions of spring fishing. Maybe something us regular non-educated anglers do incorrectly.
Well, since we're regular anglers,
We better let Lance answer.
We should all let somebody else. I mean, we're all regular anglers. I don't know. We talked about some of the misconceptions. Usually it's just misidentifying insects or here's a fun one. It's not a misconception. It's a mix-up of words. Has such and such lake unthawed yet? To unthaw would be to freeze. So it's just thaw.
Just
We
thaw.
if we had $1 for every time I've heard that over the last 25 years, I could pay off a third of my house.
So
Yeah.
15,000
Strawberry
bucks.
unthawed yet? Yeah, I don't live in your house. Mine's a mansion.
I'm going to be living in the doghouse after this one.
Yeah.
No, another one we talked about earlier that we'll mention again is streamer fishing. It's not just for the fall. You can absolutely streamer fish in the spring. Maybe even Euro nymphs. One experience I had, I think we've told this before, but it was really winter time, but maybe you could say it was early spring. I was fishing the Green River with Charlie Card, and I watched him catch fish after fish, and I realized that he was catching a lot of fish because he was fishing like a size 14 olive, just a pupa pattern. And he told me, that caddis and scuds and betas, they're all in the water all the time. So there's no reason why you can't use those types of patterns at different times of the year. Kind of eye-opening for me, fish bigger patterns, fish. You don't always have to have a betas tied on. Maybe fish want to see something else, like a red dart, which
Yep.
is a caddis pattern,
Like
right?
a squirrel.
Squirrel. Yes. That's money.
Money. How about, I know you guys fish the squirmy worm pattern, but have you tried any Berkeley worm patterns that are scented, or would that be against the rules? You answered your own question. Yes. On most of our trout rivers around here, that would be against the rules.
That would be considered bait.
I have not tried any Berkeley worm patterns.
No, I have not either.
However, I am a champion bait caster.
A cast king, one might say.
Cast king bait caster. I have a trophy and everything, but I will use scented worms when I bass fish. Do I care? Nah.
Nope.
No me importa.
No me importa.
And that's a Tio Cheech one.
Que no.
Funniest questions you've been asked in the shop. Is that a bathroom right there?
Funniest questions? I got asked once if I've ever fished the Provo after recommending flies.
I
That was funny to me.
I watched somebody go and ask Lance if he's ever heard of a red dart before.
Really?
Yeah, it was like in the other shop.
I don't remember that.
It was a young kid. It was just kind of funny. He's like, "Hey, I've been fishing this red dart. You ever seen this one?"
I've been questioned before on my fly patterns. People have come in and said, "I'm going to tie this fly." Okay, cool. And then I'll start taking them to the materials, and it's one of my patterns, and they'll say, "Oh no, that's not the right thing for that fly." Oh, it's not. My bad. What is it supposed to have? They'll tell me. Oh, okay. Well,
The best response for those is you say, you know what, I know the guy who invented this fly really well. I sleep in the same bed with him.
well, you could get away with that. I probably can't.
Yeah, you can, Lance. I challenge you next
Well,
time.
I've done that before, except for the last part.
It's actually good for a good laugh. Let's see. So, to finalize this,
What's a good funny? You haven't had any other good questions? What's your favorite question? You can't finalize
we
that.
need to like write them down.
We would.
Yeah, when they happen, we need to write them down. So
What is this? You come up. You have Caddis cataloged on your phone, and you
I know
don't have any
that's
good
nerdy.
questions?
I'm not a comedian.
Jeez.
I'm a nerd.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
I will take that as a task item for the next one. I will own it. But yeah, more than anything, we apologize for taking so long to do another podcast.
We've got a few things going on,
It's
but
been nuts. When we finally got done with our Argentina trip, we realized how big of a distraction that was for a lot of the stuff we were doing. But would we do it again? Absolutely.
yeah.
We would let it distract us because it was absolutely phenomenal. So we'll have more information about Argentina fishing if you want to go with us. Hopefully we'll be doing some more clinics. I think for this spring and this summer we want to do more Stillwater instructional stuff. We get a lot of questions on midge tip stuff, and so look for that. But just kind of more of the same. If you guys have any suggestions on videos or flies you want to see or any of that kind of stuff, hit us
Podcasts?
up. Podcasts.
Yeah, we need to do more podcasts.
Yeah,
We
if
will.
if you have topics, we're pretty open books. We're not super serious on this podcast, as
You must
seen.
do it this way.
And we don't know everything either. So if you send in a podcast request and we don't know enough about it, talk about it, we probably won't do it.
Yeah, we encourage you to look at our last podcast where we identified and highlighted all of the rules that you are breaking when you go fishing.
And we break a lot of them.
Like
Yeah.
fishing with Berkeley scented worms. Definitely a rule breaker.
Yeah, but hey, it's not fly fishing; it's just fishing.
Just fishing.
Yeah, it doesn't say that in the manual. Trust me, I have it. All right.
Yep.
Anything else, gentlemen and Lance?
Boom.
That's my favorite one, to walk into the shop when it's full and say that. That's funny.
Dad joke.
Yeah, that is a dad joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see dad shoes in Buenos Aires. And later we found out that it was an American because it was on our flight back to the States.
Well, I mean, we kind of spotted the American from a mile away,
Yeah,
but still.
still
Yeah, he
mission,
was on our
mission
same flight.
accomplished.
Please consider more Uncle Ken vids, says right there.
Yeah, we could do another one of those, or
Uncle
maybe
Ken
Tio
is-
Cheech.
T.O. Cheech would be a funny
Can
one.
you film with that little app? There's no way, right?
Good point. Maybe we put that in front of the camera.
Oh man.
Yeah, we'd have to film 30-second segments.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, I've
that'd be
wanted
hilarious.
to go on and on about different things with Tio Cheech. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to Instagram. The account is called @TioCheech.
Unless you're easily offended, then don't go
If
there.
you're easily offended, go to Lance Egan Fly Fishing, and
I
he has
won't-
pictures
I'll try
of
not to offend you.
he has pictures of kitty cats and drift boats.
Drift boats, I do have. I have kitty cat pictures on my phone, but not on my Instagram.
You need to post those. Your cat's pretty awesome.
He is pretty awesome, but I need to make his own Instagram page so I can follow
There
along
you
with
go.
Sam.
Gosh.
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm teasing.
Well, Curtis does it too.
Yep. My dog has Instagram.
Well, some people need, some dogs need Instagram to feel accepted.
All
Okay.
right.
I think
So-
that probably wraps it this time.
That wraps it up. We still have a lot of episodes to go before we dial in this audio video stuff, so
We're getting closer.
we're getting closer. Actually, we took a step back today.
At first.
At
Actually, I
first.
think we're a step forward now that I've got figured out a big piece of the audio now.
Right, yeah,
I think
the audio sounds
a lot
good.
better.
We know exactly what you're talking about, so great job, Curtis.
Yeah. All right, people.
Okay. We
Buenas
are
noches.
stopping.
Nosotros vamos a hacer un podcast la otra noche. I need to do more of that voice, too.
No me importa.
Bueno.
Y bueno.